Welcome, welcome. I'm Dr. Bart Rademaker, prescription for your transformation, real people, real conversations, and real success. And so, have you ever thought about, your own ability to create things, to make things happen? And have you ever looked at other people and wondered, why are some people that much more successful than yourself? What's that secret that's out there that you might not actually possess? But what is that achievement? What is that fulfillment? How do you define that? How do you know that it's there? What does it really feel like? And so as we journey through our amazing lives, I think, living is just unbelievably amazing. And it's a choice. It's a choice to really take on, everything that you ever can dream of, because you have that ability to do that. Now, you may not know how to tap into that ability. That's the challenge. And so for today, we have an exciting talk with Paul McFarlane. I had the greatest honor to interview him last year. Very excited to start the new year on a new theme. And the theme is your flow. And even better than that, hustle in flow without the struggle. Success without the struggle. So Paul, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, my friend.
So here's what's interesting. We were talking a little bit before the actual show, and you were sharing with me the typical person out there is, I got to do this, I got to do that, and there's always so much stress. There's always so many obligations. There's always so many things that need to be done. They got these endless to-do lists, and it's very frustrating. It's very unfulfilling. There's a lot of stress, and it just seems that this mountain of things that need to happen, is so overwhelming that it just creates a lot of frustration in people's life. But the truth is that we can be in flow. So talk to us a little bit today about how to get into that flow. What are some of the secrets? What are some of the tools that we can get access to? And so that we can find out what are the benefits, and we'll talk about those as well, about being in flow.
Well, you already said the magic word, the evil magic word. Got
Okay.
it. Got it. Anyone who's watching this, they could just listen for a minute and close their eyes and see what their mind does. And as soon as you open your minds, what do you see? Ooh, I got to do this, I got to do that. Oh, I got to do that, I ought to do that, I got to do this and this and this and that. The problem with gotta is struggle. Gotta is ego and it's lack. It's negative energy, really. Gotta. And there's a 3-word little bridge from gotta to wanna. You go from gotta to getta to wanna. Gotta to getta to wanna. You gotta do it. No, I get to do this. I get to do this. Oh, I want to do this. See how that changes from I gotta do this to, oh, I get to do this to I want to do this. That's the first thing, realizing that, recognize when you have a thought that feels like gotta, you're not in flow.
So what do we do about it? How do we get into that flow? Let's start off with this, because you have this title, Hustle and Flow. Describe that for a moment. What is that?
Okay, well, everyone's heard, I hope, Hustle and Flow, the great movie, because it's hard out here for him, all that. Hustle and flow, which kind of puts out the idea that they are two separate things. Sometimes you got to hustle, and sometimes you got to be in flow, as if they're irrevocable. You just can't do anything about it. You're going to have to hustle sometimes and sort of flow. Well, I just want to stop and look at hustle. Take it apart a little bit. When hustle feels like struggle, it's detrimental to your success, to your body, to your mind, your soul. So that change, knowing how to recognize when hustle feels like struggle. There's that gotta again. Example. I'm sure everybody watching this at some point has looked at their email and thought, "Ooh, I got to email that guy again. He hasn't called me back. Oh, okay. That's pretty nervous. Or I got to make that phone call again. I got to make sure I'm not late. I got to get to there on time. Oh, wow. Okay. Struggle, running. And the practitioners of the hustle that we all see in social media, I won't mention any names, but let's pause a minute. Him, her, him, yeah. They tend to preach a very go, never eat, never sleep, go, as the path to success. It's very, very interesting because, as I tell people, those persons who make those videos, do you get to see them in their daily life? No, you don't. You only get to see what they package and put out in the video, which is the tip of the iceberg or the tail of the elephant. I promise you, anyone who's already successful spends some amount of their day and night practicing and getting in flow, not in the struggle of hustle. So what I say, and we'll repeat this probably at the end, there are 3 strategies to discover and to benefit from flow. 1, find a teacher. It could be a live person, a teacher. It could be a teacher from a video. It could be a teacher from a book. Find one that you resonate with.
What kind of teachers more specifically? I mean, what are you talking about? People who teach meditation or what?
Yeah, exactly. People who get out of the waves on the top of the ocean and get a little bit deeper down into our essence, meditation, spirit. You know, if you have a religious or a spiritual bent, bring that into your work and your life more and find that peaceful thing. It's a little dark, but this little flashing light here is a Buddha fountain.
Right.
And it's not a Buddha. It's a reminder of my own Buddha nature. I start every day by walking up to it and saying, "Good morning, my Buddha nature." And I end my night that way. So yeah, the teacher should be anything that feels to you like bliss, slow, calm, healthy, happy.
Grounded.
Yeah, find the teacher. It can be a book, it can be a video, it could be a movie, it could be a live person, a phone call. Find a teacher. 2, identify the tools. Through the teacher, they may give you practices or tools of any kind, but identify the ones that you really resonate with. It could be physical exercise, it could be walking meditation, it could be a change in diet, it could be a change of location, not sitting all day, it could be reading, it could be singing, it could be quiet time, it could be giving, it could be anything. But identify the tools that you resonate with, that mean something to you, because you're more likely to do them.
Right.
So you find a teacher, identify the tools, and then third, last, have a daily practice. Have a daily practice. And what a daily practice means is something you do every day, not necessarily something you do once a day. It could be something you do 100 times a day. But give yourself the direction, and the order to do it and follow it. When you follow your own order, that is the highest manifestation of discipline. It comes from the word disciple, which means to follow. So let's review. Find a teacher, identify the tools, have a daily practice.
Nice. You know, when we look at flow, and, you know, we could actually be even more expansive than what you just described, because it's easy to talk about these things. And there's a lot of things that will take us, you know, get us off course, that will actually distract us from it. And I like to talk about a couple of these things because clearly, when you're having that right teacher out there to help guide you, obviously, then it's going to be very supportive of the process. The other part is, of course, when you have those specific tools, and I like to bring up a couple of those tools as well. And having that discipline, but you have to bring in a couple of other things. Number one is really what I call strength of purpose. What is the purpose here for you? And understanding that when we find ourselves in flow, things are just that much better. I mean, life is better. You're healthier. You feel you're more likely to have fulfillment in your life. And what's interesting is that, when I plan properly, so here's a tool for you guys out there. Planning helps, by the way, and committing to your plan. Because when you do it correctly, when you have the time, then things are done much more effectively. Things are working out that much better. Now there's less mistakes. I remember, if I may digress, a story. As a plastic and reconstructive surgeon, I started off my training as a general surgeon, and I had two different professors. And one professor would always be yelling at me because I was too slow. And so I would, respond to him and says, well, I'm learning, how to do it correctly, slowly, so that I can do it quickly later on. He wouldn't listen to me. He would still yell at me. And then his partner, my other professor, who also trained at the Mayo Clinic, and I went to the Mayo Clinic, big fellow. And half the time I really wanted to take the instruments away from him because I felt that he was so slow. Come to realize, after I timed these guys, that he was always the faster one. And I realized because he was in flow all the time, he was doing everything very efficiently, very carefully, very precisely, and one time only. And so I learned that being in that state of flow, you get to do things a lot better. And ultimately, you get to do a lot more things. It's fascinating when we talk about multitasking and how people think multitasking is, a badge of honor in business. And the more that you multitask, the better that you are.
They even think they're multitasking.
And they even, well, I want to hear what you think about that.
I don't believe you can really multitask. For instance, you cannot hold two contradictory thoughts in your mind at the same time, unless you have a disorder. Multitasking means you're shifting your mind rapidly between different things. In other words, as a musician, I was in a band once where there were moments in the set where I was playing bass guitar and singing, and with my feet playing a melody with synthesizer pedals on the floor, and occasionally leaning into a theremin, all at the same time. And if you've composed it in the first place, it's challenging, but it's easier. If it's something you have to learn, sometimes your body rhythm doesn't go with it. Multitasking is a fallacy, and the people, you said it, own it as a badge of honor, especially women.
Okay, Sedona, you want to answer that one?
Once you realize that your mind is literally just shifting so fast between a million different things, that's the first step to slowing down.
Do you multitask, Sedona?
I mean, I've been told the same thing, and I also don't believe there's really such a thing as multitasking, but I do shift very quickly between activities.
Yeah,
actually,
faster than fast.
Yeah, science actually has even proven that multitasking reduces fulfillment, reduces effectiveness, reduces efficiency, and actually causes a lot more stress. And so, part of being in flow is being focused on one thing. So there's a word about focus, but basically focus, finish until completed and not do something else. So again, what's interesting about flow as well, if I may bring this up now, it's also understanding that, what is your target? Because obviously if you have a particular target, you gotta get or want or whatever that is. You've got to have your targets. And Tony Robbins was very clever in the way that he positioned this. He said there's basically 4 different zones, and there's one zone that's the zone of flow. And that's where you're doing things that are important and not urgent. Then there's that zone of stress where most entrepreneurs live, and where everything's important and everything's urgent. In other words, poor planning. Right? Poor planning. And then there's the zone of delusion. I love this one. The zone of delusion says it's not important, but you're making it urgent. So you're making things happen, but they're not important, but they're urgent. And then you have the zone of distraction, which is it's not important and it's not urgent. And that's where you start playing your video games and everything else. And so he has modeled successful people over time. And he's found that most of these people who are very successful find their flow consistently. And they're consistently in flow 70 to 80% of the time, which means that 20% they're not. And that's an important part because that's that part that gets us inspired, that gets us irritated, that challenges us so that we actually, learn how to grow. Because if you're consistently in that state of flow, then it's just you're going to be in happy land all the time. So tell me some of the practices that you recommend, for people.
Hustle and flow. I say, if you say, I'm just going to hustle all the time, I say, good luck, but go see a doctor first.
Right.
And if you're in flow all the time and you're successful, you may already be Richard Branson.
Right.
So I'm sorry, I interrupted you. What were you asking me again?
So tell us a little bit about some of the practices that you have, some of the resources and tools that you like to tap into. We talked about transcendental meditation beforehand. I think that might be a stretch for some. But what are some of the things that you found are really helpful to maintain that state of flow?
Well, what's hard about beginning anything is the idea that you can detach from the God of mind. It's really hard because the ego says, yeah, but if I don't act, if I don't do, something bad's going to happen. It's that little circle. If I don't do this, something bad's going to happen, disaster, right? So detaching from that takes a leap of belief that it's going to be beneficial. It's a recognition that the way you are just doesn't feel as good as it could. I've been through that. I continually go through it. That 20, 30% versus, you're talking about, those hurt. So what I've noticed is any time I detach from struggle, I notice more. Synchronicity abounds. Things happen, and I notice things happening that just feel so beautiful and so a number, and there's the number, or something I'm thinking about, there's the answer, a person I'm going to talk to, there they are. It gives you evidential proof that if you spend time in flow, they happen. See, what we're talking about is a wall of contradictory messaging that somehow preaches. So you can think about it. If I have something to sell, a training program, a success program, and what I'm mostly saying is detach and chill out, I'm probably not going to sell that. They'll say, I don't need to buy anything to do that. You see, it kind of goes counterintuitive to a lot of marketing. But it's true. But you said it when you were talking before, that when you get in that flow, you're more effective, you're calmer, you're more creative. In fact, I'll tell you a little story. Go back to the early 1990s, the last time I was working in a big agency, and I was notorious for running through the halls with bursts of energy, rabbit-like, hyper energy, and I thought it was hilarious, and it felt good to be vroom. But I had some near collisions and a couple of minor collisions. Papers. You stopped doing that until I got told to stop running. So being a creative thinker, I decided, all right, the next day I'm going to move as slowly as I can all day. Now at this point, I should tell you, I've practiced many forms of meditation for decades, and I've been a practitioner, teacher, and student of Tai Chi Chuan, but not at this time. So I get a call at the front desk, a package was up there for me. And I would try to move so slowly. Now, we're on video here, and of course I could really mess everyone up, but if I take my hand and I'm going to move it right now, I'm moving it really slowly, but it's moving. I don't know if you can tell, it's moving.
So how long did it take you to get the package?
I don't know, but I remember people who were walking slowly seemed like they were whizzing past me. And I remember at 5 o'clock at the end of the day, I got more done that day than almost any
Interesting.
other day. And that was like, wham! And I paid attention to it, and I've told that story many times, including now.
So what that also means is that you're being present
Completely.
and present in the moment, so that you're using all your intellectual resources to the best of their ability, so that you can respond to whatever is happening in that environment. And it's interesting because that's a practice that I do as much as I can, and yet I find myself with all the gathas, right, all my obligations, even unfortunately during this interview now, realizing, well, I overcommitted today to do all sorts of things, so that I'm not even ready and prepared for tomorrow. And I have some big things happening tomorrow, and there are people counting on me tomorrow. So part of the secret is making sure that you only commit to what makes real sense, and being present in the moment as to what those commitments really mean and how it's going to benefit others, versus having to do so much because you're perhaps in fear that you have to do more to be more, right?
Yeah. You gave a stellar example. What did you say? I find myself behind schedule, unprepared for tomorrow, and these are people counting on me. Okay? Self-judgment, and fear, right? We all go
Right.
through it. We all go through it. See, the thing is having a plan. In other words, I've given Earl Nightingale, the great Earl Nightingale's
Mhm.
way of he managed time. He said, I can't manage time. I can only manage activity. And he would make a list of 6 things at the end of the night that he wanted to do the next day. And each day did the first one and only thought about the first one until it was complete, and then went to the second. The day ended and he got them all done. Great. If not, he just carried them over. Now, we're having a plan which sounds kind of rigid, and flow, which sounds not rigid. Guess what? The more you're in flow, the easier you'll know how to bend and be flexible and supple. Meaning, okay, tonight I'm changing what I'm going to eat. I'm going to eat a little bit later, but I'm going to balance that out with meditating a little longer. I'm going to stay up a little later, but I'm going to do this in the morning to eat makes my day better. You learn ways, easy ways to kind of smooth out those bumps, because the bumps will happen.
Absolutely. So another practice that I find very effective, and this is a great author, Sharmin Shirzad from Positive Intelligence, and he does this what he calls PQ reps, and it's a beautiful exercise that I currently do as often as I can. And the exercise really is being very aware of the environment around you. And so it's really taking 2 minutes, and you're stopping for 2 minutes, and you just notice everything around you. So the air in the room, the temperature, the change, the noises, the feeling of the shirt on your skin or your pants on your skin, the pressure of your feet on the ground, all these different things. And it's interesting too is when was the last time? Well, I'm sure you do this all the time, but let me ask Sedona this one. Did you have lunch today?
Yes.
You did. What did you have for lunch? Oh, dare I ask?
I had a salad and some pretzels.
Okay, how long did it take you to eat that?
About 30 minutes.
Oh, that long? You're a slow eater?
Yeah.
Were the pretzels
Oh.
in the bag?
No, they were like pretzel bites. They were like soft pretzels.
How warm were they?
Mm, They they were a little bit warm. They were out for a while.
Did they feel greasy in your fingers?
Yeah.
What was the first sensation when you took a pretzel bite and got it really close to your under your nose into your mouth?
The salt. I could smell the salt, and it has the really big pieces of salt on them. So they like fall right off the pretzel in your mouth before the pretzel even gets there.
Uh-huh. And so the first sensation as you took a bite, you noticed what?
Mm, the taste of it and the texture, the difference between the salt and how soft the pretzel is.
No. What was in the salad?
Salad had um, spinach, ranch, pieces of grilled chicken, cheddar cheese, and some tomatoes.
What was the first forkful of salad you put in your mouth? What was all in it? What did you smell and taste?
Um, I think the first bite, I usually try to get a good mix of cheese, lettuce, and meat on it. And the first one was really dry because I didn't mix the ranch in well with it.
Dr. Bart, this is how you do it.
She's good.
Well, of course.
So here's the question then as well for anybody out there. How much do you actually notice what you eat? The texture, the temperature, the taste, the different taste, the way it changes as you're chewing on it, all the different, things that come into your food. I mean, do you actually, Sedona, notice what you eat all the time? I mean, do you take the time to eat, notice it, feel it, taste it?
Yeah, unfortunately, sometimes.
No,
Unfortunately.
that's a good thing.
Sometimes it's not that great to notice, but
So most people don't, and that's the whole thing. And so again, when we're talking about getting in flow, is if you practice, especially when you eat for one, that's the easy one. But when you're doing other things, when you're taking a shower, when you're driving, when you're listening to someone talk, just
Putting
take
on
the time.
socks.
Yeah.
That's a pretty involved procedure, putting socks on your feet. And there's a lot of sensations that just go by you've done millions of times. Pay attention to one.
So again, this is a great practice for people to use. So what else would you recommend for people to help them get in flow?
Well, I go back again. This is an enormous ask for most people. And I think they have to start by noticing how they feel now.
Mm.
Is your chest relaxed? Is your jaw relaxed? Your body relaxed when you work and when you think about work? Because if you're not and you don't know the difference, that's the first warning sign. Check out your body. Does it feel relaxed and happy? Are you digesting your food correctly? Does food sit in your digestive tract calmly? Are you always thirsty? Are you always scratching, itching? Are you always looking around? Is your eyes focused on one thing at a time? Do you look at one of these every 20 seconds to see if there's a red dot? Just be aware. And if you notice a lot of those things, that is the advertisement to play with, investigate, indistinctly, innocently, with love.
Nice.
And really, that daily practice, like I said, find a teacher. I mean, all these books behind me are treasures to me. I could close my eyes and grab any one, and it would be a delight. And I'm gone. That's a love affair I have with those pages at that point.
Mm-hmm.
That is something I do every day, a daily practice. Remember, find the teacher, identify the tools, and have a daily practice. It's so important to do it that way.
So one thing that I find fascinating, when we talk about our personal effectiveness, our personal power, and I think a lot of people are really kind of in search of that. Um, it's in lieu of being in alignment with the identity that they believe that they have to have so that they can classify themselves as successful or fulfilled or these things. And what's interesting is that over time, there are so many of our teachers, now talking about teachers, that kind of tell us how we need to be, how we're supposed to act. And they may actually be off base. And so one of the interesting assessments that I've seen is what's called talent dynamics. And it's based out of the book of the I Ching. And so for people who are not familiar with this, it's a phenomenal book that was written about 5,000 years ago. The Chinese monks looked at this together with the emperors and identifying qualities, strengths of people. And so the whole idea is, why spend all your time, and this was a mantra from before, if you're not good at something, then fix it. You got to get better at something. You got to be good at everything. And personality simply can't do that. And so when you look at the book of the I Ching and then the talent dynamics, they identify 4 major quadrants of what your strengths are. And to quote, it's a creator, it's a being in that creative space. It's a place that's more time driven, so it's strategies and systems and things like that. It's another quadrant, which is what they call the blaze, where you're out there talking to people, connecting with people, and socializing with people. And then there's that other quadrant they call the steel of the Lord, which is all about details. It's finance. And so these very simple assessments, when they can identify what you're really great at, and so Paul, for example, in your case, I would imagine you're more in that creative field. You see the big picture, you're creating things, and you're not quite on the ground. Whereas somebody else who's very, very grounded and very good at managing people, working with people, has a different perspective, and they don't connect with that big picture, big vision kind of, field. And so it's fun to then discover, where are your strengths? And then using that and just giving yourself permission just to be the best version of yourself. I was working once with an astrocartographer, and for anybody who understands that, you'll appreciate the science behind identifying your life path. And, he gave me permission, in essence, by validating some of my thoughts and some of my behaviors. And so when we know, the structure of our identity with these kinds of assessments, it's extremely helpful because it really shows us, where's our strength? What's the focus? What do we really need in life? And that's what I meant earlier on about, the distractions that pull us away because, again, as Paul, very rightly said, you gotta because somebody else has told you that this is what you need to be successful. What are your thoughts on that, Paul?
Good point. See, I like when we talk about from personal experiences because that's what we know. And you mentioned the different aspects, the 4 from the I Ching. You touched on this earlier, the idea that if you know your life's purpose or you don't, flow is enormously beneficial. Here's why. If you know your life's purpose, being in flow will help you relax, be able to have the correct vision and the awareness to reach where you want to go and attract more good things. But if you don't know your life's purpose, a daily practice of flow will help your intuitive skills attract and help you awaken to your life's purpose. In other words, it's like eating food. If you're happy or sad, it's a good thing. You should eat. And a daily practice of flow is beneficial to both.
So what's your flow state? Well, that didn't come out right, so don't know. What is your flow state? What do you think of this?
Well, you mentioned kind of offhand that I did transcendental meditation, and that might be too heavy. On the contrary, it's the easiest thing I've ever done.
Oh, is that right?
The whole thing of TM is just take it easy. You can learn it in a few hours with a certified teacher, and you're immediately an expert. It's really easy. And what I've noticed from that, and all meditation brings something like this, but most auspiciously from TM, I've noticed that I'm doing it in this call. I pause a little bit more and consider what I'm about to say. We all know the people in conversations who aren't really listening. They're thinking when their opportunity is going to come to speak. And to really notice the fragrance of every moment and consider and notice means we tend to choose the right words. And the benefit into all our relationships, our personal relationships, our business relationships, all of them improve when you consider and you're in a calm state. Do I need to make an argument that when we're tense and hurried and gotta mind and worried and anxious that we don't do our best work? We don't make our best decisions? I mean, I hope no one's going to be out there and say, yes, I do. If so, well, be a doctor.
It's I once believed that any kind of meditation was difficult. And then again, I think what so many people do is they have this, idea, this concept of, well, you got to be a monk or a Buddhist monk to be able to be successfully meditate. And for the longest time, I just, we talked about self-judgment earlier on, and I think we're all very good at that. Self-judging myself, like, oh, it's not going to work. And I hear that constantly. And
well, even in meditation, it's the idea, I've got to focus my meditation.
Mm-hmm. And so for people out there who actually do want to meditate, what I do, and although purists will probably yell and scream at me, and that's okay because I'm talking to the non-purists, okay? And that is that and this falls in line with what you're talking about. It's just be in flow with your thoughts, and through that meditation, just letting those go and focus on a couple of words that are important to you. The first mantra that I was really working on was self-judgment. And so I would say to myself, no judgment, and just repeat the word and not judging all the other thoughts that came in. I mean, like waterfalls, just, thoughts, random thoughts, this, that, and the other, and just peacefully just dancing with them and not thinking anything of them and just being with the thoughts and being okay with the thoughts, and then just gently going back to whatever thought I really wanted to focus on. Another tactic that I found incredibly beneficial is finding the stillness. And you might be familiar with this one, Paul, but it's finding that stillness. And so the question that you then ask, it's really the stillness between thoughts. And I'm going to ask Sedona to do this in a moment. And it's just noticing the gap between the thoughts. And how do we get to that gap is by asking a very simple question. What's my next thought? And then notice the stillness answering that. And it's a lot of fun because when I would do that, whenever I do that, an amazing amount of peace, washes over me because there's so much peace and stillness within that space between the thoughts. So try it out, Sedona. Tell me what you think. Ask the question, what's my next thought? And then notice the stillness.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot that comes to mind.
You mean when you ask yourself, what's my next thought?
Hmm.
Hmm? Yeah, because when you do that, a little secret, everybody, you're short-circuiting your normal thinking process in a good way.
Tell us a little bit about that short circuiting. What is that?
Well, what is the short circuit? It's when something that normally goes a certain way goes a different way. And, oh wow, in meditation, thoughts, see the judgment comes when people think, I'm not meditating right, I'm thinking all the time. In TM, the thoughts you have in TM become so much clearer and more beautiful. And it's not like just a busy background of whoosh, it's like thought, thought, The thing is, people who are doing this right now don't need to hear this. So I'm going to point this towards people who aren't doing it right now. Ask yourself, what happens when you close your eyes? Oh, grasshopper, I hear better. I hear my own heartbeat. Do I notice the grasshopper at my feet? Right? Yeah, thank you. But when we have our eyes closed, all the God is from our eyes disappear. Where am I? When your eyes are closed and you're doing any good form of meditation, you're in touch with, I don't care what your faith or religion is, you're in touch with something that always was, is, and always will be. You're dipping your oar in that sea. And I'm opening my eyes now, and suddenly, oh, look at all the things I have to do. That daily practice that calms you, not sedates you. So there's no magic potion or magic pill that'll put you in this space. Unless you're dangerously violent, then do what you need to do. But that daily practice of being in a quiet, relaxed space is just so beautiful. But what I think what we need to do is turn the ship slightly now more towards transcending hustle. People talk about, I've got my side hustle. I'm really hustling this week. I did this next week, and now it's crime and punishment, and I'm working really hard. Hustle, hustle. There's a band I like very, very much called the Eagles of Death Metal. Some people only know them because they were the band playing in Paris at the Bataclan when the terrorist kind of thing happened. It really changed them. But they have a great song called Don't Speak, I Came to Make a Bang. Great song. We'd play it, but then we'd have copyright violation issues. But there's a line in there where the guy says, never in a hurry, I'm just moving fast. Wow. The song was used in a Nike commercial for football, the real game of football with your foot and soccer. But never in a hurry, I'm just moving fast. I ask everyone to meditate on that phrase. Never in a hurry, I'm just moving fast. What could that mean? Bart, what do you think? What does that mean to you? Never in a hurry, I'm just moving fast.
So, coming back to my story with my professors, it just means that I'm in this moment doing, thinking, feeling the right thing to get the outcome that I want. And so in essence, I'm not wasting a lot of energy. I'm not wasting a lot of time, not doing a lot of different things that slow me down. So it actually makes me go faster. And it's the same thing as the saying, dress me slowly for I am in a hurry. Right? Same thing again. And it really is true, because when you think about, and maybe I'm going off on a tangent here, but when you think about it, what is our purpose? And we talked about it earlier. What is it that we really want to feel at the end of the day? Is it all these monumentous things that we've achieved? I mean, is that what it is? But all of what we do ends up with one thing, an emotion. And so if the emotion is happiness and fulfillment and everything else, well, we can all have that in an instant. We don't have to do all these things to make all that happen. For us to be happy, we just simply have to resolve whatever makes us unhappy. And that can also happen very, very quickly.
You see,
And
that lyric is a great bridge, because what we're saying to some people, remember, is, I can't do that. You don't know my bills. You don't know what I've got to do. I can't do that. Never in a hurry. I'm just moving fast. Sedona, what does it mean to you? Never in a hurry. I'm just moving fast.
To me, it's something that people actually say that I do a lot. I used to work in a restaurant, and they noticed that I would serve a lot of customers in a very timely manner. They'd be out the door and in the door within like 2 minutes. But one of my bosses said, it's amazing that the customer never seems rushed, but they still like get served way faster. Like if you're sitting there with a time clock, they get served a lot faster, but they never are unhappy, or they're never saying to slow down or anything like that. And I always remember that every time somebody says that I'm moving really fast. And I really think it's just because you cut out all the distractions, and then once you're just focused on that one thing, unless you're purposely moving really slow, it's impossible to not get it done in a timely manner.
Who's the fastest human being that we know in the world? I think he goes by the name of Usain Bolt. If he's the fastest man who shows up at the race anyway, let's put it that, there's probably fast people in the mountains who don't know about competitions. When he's doing the 100-meter or whatever, do you think he's thinking, ooh, did I leave a gas cooker on at home?
No.
Or who he's got to call tomorrow? Well, of course not. What those terms we use, being in the zone, is the same thing as being in flow. When you're fully absorbed in the present moment, you're at peak efficiency. Like stress. If every one of us had to carry a 50-pound box up a flight of stairs, and before we pick up the box, tense every muscle in your body, and then pick up the box and continue up the stairs. Or relax your entire body. Pick up the box with only the muscles you need to use it. Have it balanced against your body as closely as possible. Have a good posture. Breathe well, which is easier.
Right.
See, it's not esoteric. It's incredibly practical, isn't it?
So what are we going to do with all these distractions? Facebook, TV, celebrities, the Golden Globes, all this stuff.
Well, be honest with yourself. I mean, if I wasn't like a media business brand strategist, I wouldn't be on Facebook very much. I really wouldn't. I like trees far too much for that. But we have to be honest with ourselves, and you can't be honest until you're slowing down and noticing in the first place. But if you're slowing down enough to notice, to be honest with yourself, does it feel good? Is it really an aggravation that somehow you're addicted to? There are people who are addicted to bad news. There are people who are addicted to argument and conflict because it feeds the struggle. You could make a pact with yourself. You could say, all right, I'm going to go on Facebook, and I'm going to keep scrolling until I find something that I feel makes my day. And I won't read anything else. I won't like anything just because my friend posted it. I won't love things for the people that I want to, get closer to. But only stop at something that makes your day. Make an agreement like that. There's a good daily practice. Change your social media habits to only engage with the things that really inspire you deeply. That's like breaking an addiction. So that takes a daily practice and a support system probably. All the things we're talking about work really well if you have a flow buddy.
Mm-hmm. So find a teacher, find the resources.
Find a teacher, identify the tools, have a daily practice.
and now have a buddy to do that with.
Extra
And,
points.
and what's that?
That's extra bonus points. Absolutely.
Because when you think about it, when I go on Facebook and if I'm not doing it for the purpose of my business, then I don't feel very fulfilled in it. I'm look at these stories, I look at this, I look at that. It's like, really? Where's the gratification? Where's the satisfaction? Where's the fulfillment in just, living vicariously through everybody else's life? And doing these kinds of practices that you're talking about, they're immediately accessible, and they're immediately fulfilling when you've learned not to judge yourself about that process.
And unless you find an expensive teacher, they're potentially absolutely free.
Right. And then just think again how much more effective you are. There's a reason the European companies require people to take vacation as much as they do, because they found that efficiency is enhanced quite significantly by taking time off, getting proper sleep.
But that's a good point to really chop it a little finer. European companies, most of them, and the best of them certainly, don't do it to send the person off on vacation so that they can come back to work and be more efficient. It's because they value the person as a better person.
No, absolutely. Companies that are creating environments that are conducive to more calm, more peace, opportunities to take a nap, things like that. Taking a nap in the afternoon really helps you actually stay in that flow because it relaxes your brain, relaxes your mind. But interesting enough, the key point that I want to illustrate with this and getting that whole concept of flow integrated with all of this is the opportunity to have a healthy relationship with your unconscious mind. We have two brains. We have the conscious and the conscious mind. And it's really that unconscious mind that really helps us with that creativity, coming up with the answers to problems that we have. And when we're in flow, we can have a much better conversation with that unconscious mind. So things just simply get better.
Yeah, you see, struggle is the unwelcome guest.
Absolutely. And so,
I'm trying to solve a problem. I'm activating my conscious mind to interpret what I'm taking in through my senses, and my subconscious mind, where it's more emotional and my heart is, but I've got stress in there. Get out. It's not needed. Doesn't help. You can't struggle your way to anything.
So wrapping it up, today we've been in flow. It's been gentle. It's been quiet. Not a lot of energy. And the truth is that you could have a lot of energy and still be in flow. And just noticing and asking yourself, okay, is this flow for me? Is there a struggle here? Am I really enjoying this? Is this what I really want to do? And so I really want to thank you today, Paul, for bringing this up.
Thank you, Dr.
And share with us any parting words of wisdom for anyone out there, desiring to get back into flow or finding more flow in their lives.
Well, if it's important, repeat it. Find a teacher, identify the tools, have a daily practice. And one little bit of candy. If you start doing a daily practice, you may be mystifying the people around you, which is why these exist. A little door hanger that says, I'm recharging my brain cells.
Love it.
And people learn not to bother you. And then the other side, brain cells fully charged. And you know what that does? That sets the expectation that people say, I can't wait to talk to them now. So get used to the fact that what you're going to be doing might be just a little weird, but you're going to love it.
And multitasking doesn't exist, and let's just get back in flow.
And struggle and God of mind are the enemies. Notice when they happen and then turn to the tools. No God of mind, no struggle. Yeah.
Awesome. Great. One last question to you, Paul. How do people find you?
They can find me. If they're seeing this on Facebook, message me on Facebook. If they're not on Facebook and seeing this somewhere else, they should just look for me, Paul McFarlane. I'm really easy to find. I have an enormous social footprint.
Great. Awesome. Thank you so much, Paul. I'm Dr.
Thanks
Bart
a lot.
Rademaker. Prescription for your transformation, real people, real conversations, real success. Sedona, thank you so much once again. Kept you off the hook for most of this, so next time I'll make sure I have a lot of great questions for you. Once again, we'll be back next week. Thank you very much.
Beautiful.
Thanks for listening to Dr. Rademaker's Prescription for Transformation. Join Dr. Bart Rademaker live right here